Well, they made it. Our heroes have finally found Mount Flatten, the floating mountain where Bullwinkle's Upsidaisium mine is located. But it isn't clear sailing yet, for they have been accompanied by two grizzled old prospectors, Mojave Max and Death Valley Dottie, who strangely resemble those two arch-villains, Boris and Natasha.
Hey, loudmouth! Not so loud!
Last time, as a matter of fact, Boris began to push a huge boulder over on the unsuspecting Rocky.
Boris, do you think this is fair?
Of course not, Natasha. Why else would I do it?
Little did Boris know that the enormous stone was chock full of Upsidaisium, the fabulous metal that defies gravity. So when it was rolled over the ledge, instead of landing on Rocky...
Boris is falling up!
You can't trust anybody anymore.
Yes, that huge stone fell upward until it was lost from sight. Rocky, of course, was unaware of Boris's attempt on his life.
Bullwinkle, we gotta let Captain Peachfuzz know we found Mount Flatten.
Yeah, I suppose you're right, but how?
Just watch.
Sure enough, in a very short time, a series of smoke clouds were rising from Mount Flatten.
Keen idea, eh, Bullwinkle?
Yeah. Then how come all the smoke?
We're sending smoke signals.
Oh.
You hear that, Natasha? We must stop them.
But why?
As soon as they send message, place will be jammed with every Tom, Dick, and J. Edgar in country. Then how can we steal Upsidaisium?
You're right, darling. What we do?
Follow me.
And Boris and Natasha climbed to a ledge directly above Rocky and Bullwinkle and began censoring the smoke signals. Fortunately, they were just a little too late, for miles away from Mount Flatten, two lonely Indians sat on their pintos and gazed silently at the rising smoke clouds. Then one noble savage turned to the other and said,
Now, there's something you don't see every day, Chauncey.
What's that, Edgar?
Smoke signals in English.
Doesn't spell very well, does he?
What's he saying?
Oh, just some nonsense about a floating mountain full of Upsidaisium and...
Upsidaisium. Last one back to the teepee is a blunt arrow.
And the two Indians galloped off to see their medicine man.
All right, stick 'em out, tongue. Say how.
How?
Don't get up, Doc. Just came in to use the phone.
In a flash, the word spread all over the country.
X-ray! Squirrel discovers floating peak!
Upsidaisium, new national resource. Anti-gravity discovery rocks nation.
In no time at all, Upsidaisium, the anti-gravity metal, had become the most sought-after metal in the world.
Think, gentlemen, of what an anti-gravity substance will mean.
Upsidaisium vacuum cleaners for lighter housework.
Upsidaisium autos save on tire repair.
Upsidaisium soap, a facelift with every lather.
Even the children caught the Upsidaisium fever.
London Bridge is falling up, falling up, falling up.
Soon the entire country knew about Rocky and Bullwinkle's sensational discovery. Back at Mount Flatten, our friends were surprised to find that they'd become quite a tourist attraction. They liked it. But Boris didn't.
All those people looking at us, I feel like goldfish, an honest goldfish.
How can we steal Upsidaisium with all those people staring?
We can't, so we got them one better.
How?
We still mounted.
Well, this plan tops anything that Boris has done.
You know my motto, never steal anything small.
Don't miss our next episode, Mountain Mover, or Boris Sneaks a Peek.
Junior, I want you to pay close attention to this story, for it has a very important moral. The name of it is The Dog and His Shadow.
I know this story, Dad. It's the one about the dog who finds a bone and then sees his reflection in
Junior.
the water, and thinking it's another dog, drops his bone because...
Junior.
Because he's so greedy, see? And the moral is...
Junior, there's one moral that you haven't learned.
What's that, Pop?
To listen. So you think that's the story, huh?
Yeah, Pop.
Well, it just so happens that isn't the story at all.
What is the story, Pop?
Well, all right. Once upon a time,
That's a safe start.
there was this dog, you see. There was this dog and a bone. Now, this dog was very happy with his bone until he noticed his shadow.
Say, that dog has a bigger bone than I do.
Hey, buddy. Come here.
Yes?
Don't you notice something peculiar?
No. What's the matter?
Well, I wouldn't want this to get around, but you ain't got no shadow.
No shadow? Of course I got a shadow. All dogs have shadows. In fact, all things have shadows, in a manner of speaking. It is a simple law of physics.
You ain't.
That's funny. I had one this morning.
You ain't got one now. I don't want to stick my nose in your business, Jack, but I think you ought to get one.
Oh, my goodness. What'll I do?
All right, now take it easy, buddy. I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I know a guy who deals in hot shadows. He'll sell you one pretty cheap. You meet him here at 12 midnight.
You the dog who ain't got no shadow?
Yeah, that's him, all right. You got the money, creep?
Yeah, I got it right here.
Okay, Charlie, here's your shadow. Only don't open it until after we're gone. You got that, Charlie?
Why not?
Just say that's the way the shadow bounces, Charlie.
My name ain't Charlie. Oh, well, no matter. At last, I have my shadow back again. Whoops. Hey, that's not my shadow.
Psst, buddy, don't yell. I told you I'd get your shadow. I didn't say it'd be your shadow. This happens to be Charlie's shadow.
But whom is Charlie?
Poor Charlie.
Listen, Charlie, if I have got to have you as my shadow, you got to straighten up and act right. You got to follow my every movement. You got that? All right, then. Let's give it a run-through. Forward, hutch. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. No. You are not following. How many times I got to tell you, Charlie?
I suppose you think it's easy.
And that's another thing. Shadows are not supposed to talk, even if spoke to.
Day in and day out, following every movement people make. And let me tell you, there are some pretty stupid movements we have to follow, too. We shadows want a little dignity. We want to be treated with respect. Then maybe we could do you a good turn someday.
How could a shadow help anybody?
Where's your license?
Well, I got it here someplace. I think I left it on the top bureau drawer. Get out! There's only room for one.
Now I got you.
No, now I've got you.
Who said that?
I did, fatso.
According to the laws of physics, if there is a terrifying shadow of a lion cast upon the wall, it naturally follows that a lion is in the near vicinity.
By George, I'm going to have to admit it. Shadows are a great help.
Well, I may as well give this back.
What's that?
It's your bone.
Oh, then you're...
That's right. I was your shadow all along.
Well, I will be. But tell me, who is this guy, Charlie?
Which, of course, brings us to our moral. Treat your shadow with respect, and you will not be sorry.
For how can you be really sure it is not owned by Charlie?
Last time you remember, Rocky and Bullwinkle finally got to Mount Flatten and started looking for Bullwinkle's mine. Rocky wanted to notify Captain Peter Peachfuzz, head of the intelligence system, of their discovery. So he and Bullwinkle sent out smoke signals telling all. The news spread like wildfire. In no time at all, everybody in the country knew of their sensational discovery. Everybody but the man their message was aimed for, Captain Peter Peachfuzz. The reason? Captain Peachfuzz was just too good at keeping secrets.
Very well, Agent 9, your report.
Well,
Hush, that's a secret, even from me. Agent 7?
Well,
Tut, that's classified information now ready for assignment.
Yes, sir.
Agent 6, follow Agent 4, Agent 4, follow Agent 2, and Agent 2.
Follow Agent 6?
Are you mad? 2 never follows 6.
Meanwhile, back at Mount Flatten, the floating mountain, Boris Badenov, disguised as a prospector named Mojave Max, had his problems too.
Too many tourists, Natasha.
What can we do about it?
Think big, Natasha. We steal mountain right from under their noses.
But how?
Simple. First rent airplane and then...
Unaware of their shenanigans, our heroes, Rocky and Bullwinkle, were still trying to find the lost Upsidaisium mine.
You remember how to tell Upsidaisium, Bullwinkle?
How to tell it what?
No. Upsidaisium is the only stuff in the world that falls up.
Oh, of course. How typical of me to forget.
And our heroes set to work with pickaxes.
See, here's the pretty stone, Rocky.
Does it fall up?
Nope.
Then forget it.
Okay.
But as our friends labored steadily, a rickety craft flew steadily toward the floating mountain, and guess who was at the controls? Oh, go on, guess.
Lucky Lindy?
That's right, it was Boris Badenov and his partner.
But, darling, how do we hook onto mountains?
Use your head, Natasha.
And spoil my hairdo? Never!
No, on floor of plane is anchor.
Got it, darling.
When we pass mountain, hook anchor to mountain.
Okay.
Then we tow mountain away to Pennsylvania.
But won't Moose and Squirrel see us fly over?
Not if we fly under.
And sure enough, the wily Boris flew beneath the floating mountain out of sight of Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Okay, Natasha, hook on anchor.
And Natasha set the anchor firmly in the edge of the mountain.
Now we pull. You got other end fastened to tail of plane?
Why no, darling. I got other end right.
Natasha!
In a twinkling, the unlucky Lady Louse dangled precariously under the floating mountain. 10 minutes later, a somewhat rumpled Death Valley Dottie clambered over the edge of the mountain and called back to her confederates.
Now what, darling?
I'll fly by again. You lasso plane.
Oh, Boris, you're so smart.
And as Boris piloted the plane close to Mount Flatten, Natasha dropped a noose over the tail.
You're so clever. You're such a genius. Such a...
Oh, shut up your mouth.
Meanwhile, back on Mount Flatten, Bullwinkle's pick had struck something very interesting.
Appears to be some different kind of stone.
Yeah. Bullwinkle, I think we hit it.
Did it hurt?
No, I mean, this looks like pure Upsidaisium.
Oh, boy, let me get at it.
And Bullwinkle seized the strange-looking stone and wrested it from the earth.
Gee, it's so light.
Bullwinkle, throw it away.
Well, how come? It must be worth a fortune.
Yeah, but you gotta be here to spend it.
Sure enough, the Upsidaisium was carrying Bullwinkle farther and farther into the air.
Hey, I'm falling up.
And now it's too late for you to let go.
Will the mighty moose keep falling up forever and ever? Don't miss our next episode, Bullwinkle's Rise, or This Goon for Hire.
And now for all of you out there who need to know a little bit more about a little bit less, here he is, Mr. Know-It-All.
Greetings, ineffectuals. Today's recession is entitled, Wouldn't a Trophy Look Nice Over Your Fireplace? Or How to Get Ahead. Being a big game hunter is really quite simple, like me. All you need is a rifle and a faithful Indian guide.
How?
Are you sure you're a faithful Indian guide?
Sure thing, see feather?
You know they're not making Indians like they used to. You are now ready for the hunt.
Look, here is tiger footprints.
How do you know that is a tiger's footprints?
Because the tiger's foot is still in it.
He is a magnificent beast, and you shout to your faithful Indian guide who is carrying the rifle, "The gun! Let me have it!"
What's that?
Let me have it!
Seems silly, but okay.
Your wound heals quickly in the dry, warm climate, and you are ready once again, this time for the biggest game of all, elephant. And you do not even bring a gun.
Hey, Buana, how you going to get elephant without gun?
All I really need is a little toy mouse. If I show this to an elephant, he will become so frightened he will faint. And so, in conclusion, you can see that getting a trophy to hang over your fireplace is really no trouble at all, especially if you happen to have a flying squirrel for a little friend.
Thank you, Mr. Know-It-All. I think.
months had gone by, and contrary to the code of the Royal Canadian Mounties, they had not been getting their man. Dudley Do-Right was no exception. He did bring in, however,
an apple. Flattery will get you nowhere, Do-Right. Unless you bring back a man this very day, I'll put you back to pounding the pavement.
Oh, not that, Inspector.
Oh, hello there, Dudley. Just out for a stroll. Beautiful day, isn't it?
Maybe for you, but for me a hopeless day filled with despair.
What's wrong, Do-Right?
Everything. If I don't bring in a man by today, I will be put in a fate worse than death.
Back to pounding the pavement, eh? What would this man have to do to be brought in?
Oh, something like, blowing up a bridge. Crimes.
How about defacing the great Canadian forest? Is that a crime?
Oh, yes, that's a crime.
Well, your troubles are over, Do-Right. There's your man over there.
You, sir, are under arrest. Come along peacefully now, because, ta-da, the Mounties always get their man. I've got him, Inspector. I've got him. I've got my man.
What you've got there is a bear, Do-Right, and I'd appreciate it if you'd get him out of... What are you doing?
By Jove, Inspector, I do believe the bear has taken a fancy to the Mounties. I think he'd like to become one of us.
Well, I won't have it, Do-Right. I simply won't have it. There are certain rules to becoming a mounter that I think can be overlooked in this case.
So the bear became a member of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, upholding the tradition of always getting their man. The only trouble was he always got the wrong man.
Oh, thank heaven the Mounties have arrived. Catch that thief! And don't think you won't hear about this. Put in prison like a common criminal while Snidely Whiplash is allowed to roam the Canadian countryside.
The trouble with our new recruit is that he brings in too many people and always the wrong ones. Sunday school teachers, ministers, little old ladies, used car dealers. Our most upstanding civic-minded citizens are languishing in the stockade.
But, Inspector, if you know they're upstanding civic-minded citizens, why do you lock them in the stockade?
Because, Dudley, I haven't the heart to tell that poor bear he's doing the wrong thing. It would break his heart. Oh, if only that bear would bring in the real criminal, Snidely Whiplash.
Father, you're not going to lock me up.
You think I want to, my own daughter? But the morale of the Corps is at stake. Don't look back, dear. I want to remember you as you were always.
But, Father...
Dudley, you got us into this mess, and you very well will get us out of it or suffer the consequences.
Sir, there is one other rule.
What is that, Dudley?
A Mountie must be clean-shaven.
Clean-shaven? By Jove, Dudley, you're right.
I'm sorry, old man, but I didn't make the rules, you know. A Mountie at all times must be clean-shaven.
Dudley, you've got to think of something else. You've got to get rid of that bear, or we are going to get rid of you.
And, Nell, that's the story. I've got to get rid of that bear, but how? If I tell him he's not a Mountie, it'll break his heart.
Dudley, what makes the world go round?
Well, it's a combination of gravitational forces.
Love. What that bear needs is a sweetheart.
Oh, Nell, I couldn't ask you to do a thing like that.
No, not me, silly, but a girl bear. That bear needs a girlfriend.
Nell, I do think you've hit on something. I'll go right now and find a girlfriend for him. But, Nell, do you think the girl bear will like him?
Oh, Dudley, what girl can resist the uniform of a Royal Canadian Mounted Police?
Will I see you again, Nell?
Sure. Visiting hours are from 9 to 5.
So Dudley went out in search of a girlfriend for Mountie Bear.
Oh, Miss Bear, I was wondering, are you going steady with anyone? Not with me! Oh, for goodness sake, I didn't mean... Oh, Nell was right. The uniform is irresistible.
By George, at last, Snidely Whiplash, finally brought in by a Mountie. By Jove, that bear will get a commendation.
No, please! My affections are already centered elsewhere. I did it, Inspector! I did it!
Not yet, but you're going to.
Going to what?
You're going back to pounding the pavement.
Well, in their search for the Upsidaisium mine, our heroes have finally got to Mount Flatten, the world's only floating mountain. But Bullwinkle, who unearthed a large boulder of the anti-gravity metal, soon found himself falling upward at remarkable speed.
I always expected to go to heaven, but not so soon.
Drop it, Bullwinkle!
I can't, Rocky. I'm too high up.
It was true. Bullwinkle shot higher and higher, and truly he was in a dilemma.
Yeah, I dasn't hold on and I dasn't let go.
Then the brainy squirrel got an idea.
If you still have your pick with you, just break some pieces off the rock.
And Bullwinkle did just that. And with each piece he chipped off, his upward speed slowed and slowed until finally he actually began to move downward again.
Don't chip any more, Bullwinkle. That's just right. Boy, keeping that stuff is going to be harder than getting it.
You know, I have the same trouble with money.
Meanwhile, far below them, those two sneaky characters, Boris and Natasha, still disguised as miners, were now hatching still another plot to steal Mount Flatten and spirit it away to Pennsylvania.
You're sure this will work, Boris?
How could it don't work? Was invented by Uncle Wanya himself.
Uncle Wanya?
That grand old mean of crime.
You mean grand old man of crime.
I said mean, I mean. Look here.
And Boris showed Natasha one of his rarest treasures, an autographed copy of Uncle Vanya's collected recipes for robbers, the Fireside Crook Book.
See right here, he tells how to steal mountain.
Take fan A, up in balloon B, turn it on mountain C.
Then wind blows mountain where you want it. Clever.
You sure Uncle Wanya did it?
Of course, it says right here. This plan is absolutely sure. Come.
And the two villains followed the instructions to the letter.
Okay. Turn on fan, Natasha.
Sure enough, the huge fan blade spun at frightening speed, sending out a whirlwind of air. But unfortunately, the balloon was lighter than the mountain, and so...
Boris! Fan is blowing us away!
Turn it off, Natasha. Off!
I can't, darling! Switch is stuck!
Oh, boy!
And the balloon continued to dart madly about the sky.
Hey, Bullwinkle, isn't that Mojave Max and Death Valley Dottie?
Yeah.
That's a mighty strange-looking balloon they're in.
First time I ever seen one with an outboard motor.
I thought this plan was absolutely sure.
Says right here, absolutely sure.
Turn page, darling.
To fail miserably. Well, that's one on you, Natasha.
And here's one on you, darling.
But Natasha's fun was interrupted when a voice crackled from their radio.
Come in, Boris Bedinov, whoever you are.
He's central control.
Bad enough here, the schnook you love to hate. Available for wars, feuds, and all kinds dirty deals. Go ahead.
Bedinov, Mount Flatten is too big for you to handle.
Too big?
Someone is coming to take over.
Take over?
Stop repeating everything I say.
Everything good. Yes, fearless leader. Just who is coming to take over?
Who else? Mr. Big.
Mr. Big?
That is all. Over and out, Bedinov.
He certainly is, darling.
And at that very moment, a jet black jet is roaring toward Mount Flatten. Its passenger, Mr. Big. Be with us next time for Boris Bites Back or A Rebel Without a Pause.